to help your children spread their wings and fly through life. Let's talk about types of discipline. Now, distraction and diversion works so well, and we use it right from when they're really tiny babies. We try, if they're doing something or they're wanting something, we can distract them with something else if we don't want them to have that. It also works in situations where you can be walking along or they see a piece of poo and want to pick it up. You can say, oh no, oh look, this is a pretty leaf, let's collect that leaf. So that they can actually do something else, another action, instead of the one that they're looking at. And that one is the one that you don't want them to do. It works really well in the house. If they're doing something that you don't want them to do or is unsafe, then all you have to do is to get them and find something else for them to do. Often you need to choose those distractions to be things that they really love doing. For instance, if they love books, you can get a new book out and go, oh, look at this, and start reading it. Or maybe you could go to the fridge and get an apple out. Oh, I'm cutting up some apple, would you like some? And then they'll leave whatever they're doing and they'll come straight to you. That then gives them time to become distracted with that, and then you can go and fix up anything that needs to be fixed up. So that distraction and diversion works really well with kids up until a certain point. Now, I've had it before where they've turned it around, where I've wanted the kids to do something like cleaning up, and during that time they've come to me and gone, oh, Mummy, I'd love to do some writing. Can we do some writing? And we're in the middle of cleaning up, and I go, oh, yes, I want them. Oh, they'd like to do writing. Oh, I want to. No, now they're distracting me. So when we're finished cleaning, then we can do writing, and of course they don't want to do writing after that. But what they've done is they've learnt that distraction technique, and that's so powerful for them because that gives them the opportunity to start to use these positive discipline techniques on themselves, and that way they can make good choices, and especially when you're not around. Because once they've gone to kindy, or once they go to daycare, or once they go to school, they need to make those choices, and they need to choose the correct, or what you think is the correct social etiquette. And it's important that they understand how you want them to behave when they're not around you. I always say, everyone always said that my children were really well behaved. And I would look at them at home and I'd think, oh, they're not well behaved at home. But what was really wonderful is that they knew what the expectations were. So they always, when they were out, they always followed those expectations. And then when they came home, that's when they would test those boundaries. And I didn't mind that. As long as when they were out, they actually knew what that social etiquette was and they stuck by those boundaries. So those sorts of things all come about because of this positive discipline techniques. One of the techniques that I find works really well is counting down. Now, you will have heard people do it and you might think, oh, I hate that. And you know, when I didn't have children, I thought, oh yeah, I don't like counting down, I don't like that. Until I realised the theory behind it. What it does is it gives children the opportunity to understand that there is a limit to your accepting this behaviour. And at the end of that limit, there is a consequence. So it gives them a chance to make that decision. So you'll start with 5, 4. Now, if you continue doing that, then you're going to your room. 3. Remember, you're going to your room if you continue. 2. If I get to 1, that's the end of it, you're going to your room. 1. Oh, well done. Good choice. And then you can go on with your life. If they choose not to, you go, right, you're going to your room for 4 minutes. And they can stay in their room for 4 minutes. Remember to put a timer on. And what that does is that means it takes them away from that situation where they wanted to do that thing. So you're moving them away from the situation, and their punishment really is the fact that you're not letting them do what they want to do. and you're putting them, not so much that you're putting them in their room or putting them in time out or whatever the action and the consequence is. The most important thing is the consequence is they're not allowed to do what they wanted to do. Now, this counting down has to be set up. So you need to do it 3 or 4 or maybe 5 times before they start to understand what it's all about. But once they understand it, it's so powerful. I've had my 16 and 18-year-old getting stuck into each other. One of them had borrowed from the other one's cupboard a top and had put a stain on it, and they were so angry with each other and they were at it and they were shouting at each other, and I had tried everything to stop this fight. In the end, I started counting down. I went 5, 4, and they both looked at me when I hit 4 and they went, "You are not." 3, 2. Now, I hadn't said what the consequence was, but I got to 2. They put their hands on their hips and they went, "Mummy, that's not fair," and they stomped away to their rooms. Now, I couldn't believe it at 16 and 18 that it actually worked. Now, I hadn't used counting down for years, but it was at a point where they weren't listening. They were just at it with each other, but it was the power of it was that they knew that their behaviour had to stop by the time we hit 1. Now, I don't know what I would have done if I had hit 1 and they still hadn't stopped. But I was so lucky that at that point that's what they had actually done. But it gave them time, gave their brain time to calm down, and then they could start thinking. So that's how powerful this counting down can be. Why do we choose positive discipline? It's much more effective than negative discipline. It makes your life happier, it makes the kids healthier, and it helps them to live in society. It's quite amazing the positive influence that this has in your whole life. In your positive environment that you have at home, it helps with the health and the well-being of everyone in your household. It makes life so much easier for you in the long run, and it makes it so much easier for them in the long run. It teaches them about social etiquette, it teaches them about learning self-discipline and self-esteem. It builds their self-esteem, and it really helps them become successful young adults. And that's why I advocate for positive discipline. It's the sort of thing that you can easily do and just implement 1 or 2 little things every week, and you'll be quite surprised at with the impact that it has on their behaviour and how easy it is for you to implement that in your own lives. Keep it happy, keep it healthy. Make sure